America, taking you down to the crossroads. You ready?
My job today. My car just
So, Hans, tell me about Chico Chisholm.
Chico. He was, I was so excited when Bob Corritor brought Chico from Chicago to here. And he was the real thing, and he was a nut, and he was funny, and he was a great drummer. A great blues drummer, and there aren't that many great blues drummers. I've known a lot of great drummers, but blues drumming is harder, I think, than any other kind of thing. And we became really good friends, and I actually produced an album for him, and we did a tour once called the Page to Bisbee Tour. And it was just me and him. He was playing drums, and I was doing my solo thing. And we actually played at almost every city all the way down from Page to Bisbee, and it was fun. We made T-shirts and everything that show a map of the state, and I got to know Chico really good. And my favorite thing about Chico was that he was actually, when I met him, he was starting to have his strokes, which I believe came from his tooth infections. But they were small, and they were, you didn't really notice it. He just was kind of slipping away. And he'd walk around with that briefcase, the briefcase full of blues, and then he was always trying to blow his own horn, which he should be doing, but he'd say, I just played with Eric Clapton last week. And then they'd say, no, you didn't. You've been here in Tempe for a whole week. And then people start thinking he was making all this stuff up, right? And I said, trust me. He has played with Eric Clapton. It just wasn't last week, and he's just confused. And I said, he gets confused. He'd carry around, he'd say, I'm going to Holland next week, and you'd look at the itinerary, and it'd say 1996. And you'd say, well, that was a couple years ago. It's like he just was confused. And my favorite story was when a guy ran into Chico in a bar, and Chico was looking all down, and the guy said, what's the problem? And he goes, well, a friend of mine is playing in town tonight, and I wanted to go, and I don't have the money. And the guy said, well, who is it? And he says, B.B. King. He said, man, I'd like to see B.B. King. He says, I'll take you to see B.B. King. And he says, yeah, I'm good friends with him. We'll go back and talk to him and everything. And this guy called me, and he goes, Chico thinks he knows B.B. King. And I said, trust me, he does know B.B. King. So at the gig, Chico's sitting out front, and B.B. King says, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to a fellow you have the honor to be living in your town, Mr. Chico Chisholm. And he comes up and plays the drum. The guy calls me and goes, geez, he really did. He does know B.B. King. I said, no, he's the real thing, and you need to know that. And then when Willie Dixon died, the king of the songwriters, a friend of mine called me and said, Chico really wanted to go to the funeral, and I don't think we could get in. He says he knows him, and I said, trust me, he knows him. And it was in California, so they had to drive all the way to California. So she drove him out to California, and then she calls me and says, we're sitting at Willie Dixon's wife's table having dinner. And he really knew Willie Dixon, and I said, yeah, I told you. I love that when people would realize he's not making it up. I mean, he was the real thing. He'd been there and done that.
tell me, baby, you good man. You look so good. I sure wish it was me. Streak of fat, streak of lean. I'll be your king, baby. You give me my king. Tell me, baby, you good man. Arizona woman, know you look good to me. Everybody, Arizona woman,
hands, what's in your future?
Well, I'm trying to get this Hall of Fame. This is taking up all my time. I'm trying to get this thing done. In fact, I just announced I'm resigning as president a year from now. So I'm giving that one more year, and if I can't get it going and get the support it needs, then I just didn't succeed. And then when that's done, I'll continue to just do what I've been doing, which is playing gigs anywhere that calls me and getting that TV song money. And I want to write a couple books. I'm writing a book about my life, and I started it just before I got into this, and I'm right up to the point where my career starts. Mm-hmm. I did all the young stuff, which is the hard part, your history and your family and all that. And now I'm getting out of high school right when I stopped writing it. So I'm really excited to start chronicling and putting all those stories in there, because I got 1 billion stories. It's just hard to think of which one would stand out. But I just, I'll keep playing until I can't anymore, and then we'll see.
I did forget to ask you. You wrote a song for that appeared on the Burt Reynolds Evening Shade.
Nope. I didn't write it. I just sang it.
You sang the song.
If I would have wrote it, I could have retired. That's big money. But singing it is,
How did that happen?
Deal. Well, that was really funny. There was a guy, Clark Rigsby, friend of mine, one of the best engineers in town. He hooked up with a guy named Snuff Garrett, who was the #1 producer in Hollywood for many years, a music producer. And he had a stroke, and he moved to Arizona, and he said, I'm not ever going back to Hollywood. I can't take the stress. He retired. But then he couldn't stay out of the studio here, so he hooked up with Clark, and they did a bunch of things. And one day Burt Reynolds called him and said, I got a 2-hour BL Stryker television show coming on Friday. This was on a Monday. And there's nobody in the world could do 2 hours of TV music in a week but Snuff Garrett. He's like the guy. He was the only guy that could do it. And Burt Reynolds just waited until a week before it was going to air. And he says, I need music. I need 2 hours of music. And Snuff Garrett said, I'm retired. He said, dude, you're the only one that can do it. It's going to be on TV Friday night, and there's no music on it. He says, I won't do it. I won't come to Hollywood. He says, if I could do it in Phoenix, actually in Paradise Valley, Chaton, I think is where they did it. And he called Clark and said, could we get the equipment to do a television thing? And they did. And they called me in on that. They called in a lot of musicians. I played harmonica on that soundtrack thing. Then when the Evening Shade show came up, and that was a regular weekly show, they did it all in Phoenix. Now, this was a big thing for Phoenix to do a major primetime television show. And they pulled me in to do some harp on it, and then they were supposed to be singing the theme song. And I think it was supposed to be J.J. Cale. I'm not sure, but somebody. And one of the guys in the Crickets, I heard, Buddy Holly's band, wrote the song. But they had done all the music, all the guitar parts and everything, and they were just waiting for the singer. And I think he called that day, and it had to be done that day. And he said, I'm in England, and I don't think I'm going to make it to the session. And Snuff went ballistic, and he started screaming, and I went, I'm out of here. I was packing up my harps, and I said, I'm getting out of here. And I was actually 1 foot out the door when Clark screams at me and says, wait, come back. And it's because Snuff had hung up the phone and said, do you know any singers? And he said, well, Hans is a singer. But I was like leaving, but they caught me just before the door closed. And I came back in, and Snuff says, I'll give you $2,000 to sing this song. So the royalties and everything that go with it. Of course, I had to join SAG union to get paid, because it's considered an off-camera speaking part when you do that. It's just weird. And but that was cool. There was some good money for a couple of years. But now it's gotten down to, it's just weird. I was getting $12 a year royalties on this, $15 a year. And then it went into syndication. Now I'm seeing it on TV. It's on TV, and I'm not getting anything. So maybe they're not using the ones I was on or something. But because I only did the first season, but that was pretty fun.
Well, she takes all of my money. She don't come home till late. She don't give no excuses. She always makes me wait. She got a mean disposition. She's trouble all the time. She's got a mean disposition, but I'm glad that girl is mine. She's got a silver Smith & Wesson and a razor in her bag. She's a walking firecracker. She always makes me mad. She's got a mean disposition. She's trouble all the time. She's got a mean disposition, but I'm glad that girl is mine. Well, she stands up for herself, she never will back down. She's hard-headed, she's nasty. She treats me like a clown. She's got a mean disposition. She's trouble all the time. She's got a mean disposition, but I'm glad that girl is mine. Well, she takes all of my money. She don't come home till late. She don't give no excuses. She always makes me wait. She's got a mean disposition. She's trouble all the time. She's got a mean disposition, but I'm glad that girl is mine.
It's time to go back, baby. Way, way back. This is the Way, Way Back Blues.
Woke up this morning, blues all around my head.